1, 2. Testing 1, 2, 3. Well, we're all there. Okay. Hi, Pete. How are you doing? Good to see you on here. Well, I've been on Twitch for a bit, so I wanted to try experimenting going between the two platforms. Actually, maybe doing my morning sessions on YouTube and sort of more performance stuff on Twitch when I get the time to do it. So yeah, that's what I'm planning on, basically. So I need to do a bit of a setup. Let's have a look. And make some music for an hour maybe. So I've done a session. Yeah, no, they'll be coming back soon, I think. Well, I'm here now. So I mean, it's been quite good. I mean, you can, Twitch, you can monetize it quite quickly, which I did. It's not, but you have to put in like so much effort. Ridiculous. But I'll tell you what was really good is that it was really good for getting people in into my coaching program, which is obviously still going. So I mean, and that's like the reason I do these streams. Obviously, it's the first reason is to help people because they get to see how I make music. No, because like contractually, Twitch don't like it. They don't permit it. That's the thing. So I mean, if I wasn't that bothered about Twitch, then I'd probably do it and just take the mic. But it's kind of you're breaking your contract, sadly. But I can do one or the other, just not both at the same time. But yeah, so the streams are for me to make music in the morning, keep my morning music habit going, because there's accountability, isn't there? I know people are gonna not so much on Twitch. Twitch was more random, but the YouTube thing I can advertise it more easily the night before, and then I've got to turn up really. So there's that kind of level of accountability, which is great for me. And then the other thing is I make music, and then the other thing, part of it was that in terms of monetizing things, there's obviously my coaching business, which is stems from the YouTube. So anybody who wants to kind of, I mean, the coaching. When I mention coaching, what I mean by that exactly is that what I focus on is helping facilitate the skills that people already have. I think coaching gets really, really confused between mentoring. Yeah. The the coaching, what I would say is it's not that much. I mean, what I charge is $200 a month. Okay, and it doesn't matter if there's a 5 week or a 4 week month. So you could think of it like $50 a week, maybe. So it's probably less than it probably works out less than your average guitar teacher. And the groups are no more than 4 people in a group. We meet on Zoom, and you get about 2 hours of my time, and I have like structured tasks. I hate the word tasks. I have structured games that we play. It's all based around your music, and because it's coaching, there's no problem with differentiation. So everybody can be at different levels using like playing, producing different styles of music. That's irrelevant. The only person you're in competition with is yourself, and that's the beauty of it. You're fulfilling your own goals. So it's definitely something. Yeah, it's and the amazing thing is, I mean, productivity is my main focus. I mean, I've done years and years of all the music theory and all of that. I have 2 master's qualifications. It's ridiculous. I've done all of that. I'm a graded, classically trained musician. And the most powerful thing that I ever did with my life was to get a coach. And luckily I got the right one. And it was like nitrous oxide. And I mean, that's why I'm here. And that's why I do all these different things and end up in these different situations, is because of that, you know? And just because I'm a coach doesn't mean that I don't struggle. And that's the whole part of it. When I'm struggling, I can view it and go, that's interesting. I'm going to try this. And one thing it does give me personally is I can use myself as an experiment. So yeah, so $200, it's like, and it's literally life changing, because really what you get is you get to develop your own music, facilitating the skills you already know, right? Because I know as a coach, right, and it's proven to me every single day, all right, that one, we already have the skills to make great music. 2, you can make music as good as anyone else. 3, we can make music under any circumstance. And 4, we can make some sort of an income from our music. And those are the 4 beliefs. And you know, the people who I coach fulfill those, and most of them on a daily basis. So it's wonderfully like having the more than beliefs, like having those values, I should say. It's a wonderful thing seeing them fulfilled on a daily basis. It really is. It's great. But you know, whenever you're ready, there are spaces available. But it's funny how like the coaching thing does get mixed up with mentoring. You know, I always have to reiterate. You know, I'm facilitating skills you already have to make amazing music. Other people are installing skills. Great. Yes, get you out of that overdraft. Brilliant. Yeah. So you know, so just to be clear on this, so teaching, not to say I don't teach, I do end up teaching a little bit when I'm coaching. But teaching is, I have got some skills and I'm going to install them. That's it. I'm installing skills, more skills, more skills, more skills. And one of the problems is we've got YouTube and everybody's over-skilling themselves and they've got absolutely zero purpose. There's no connection to the world whatsoever. They just think I need to be brilliant at all of these skills, but I don't know what I'm doing. But so that's kind of education, installing skills. Okay. Mentoring is basically, you might get to work in a studio or another musician or a songwriter, and then that's kind of, well, this is how I do it. I can show you the way I do it, and then you can do it that way now. So that's mentoring. So it's kind of one thing fits. As a mentor, you're not really necessarily specializing in different, not that I like to pigeonhole learners, but you're not trying to facilitate learning. It's just simply, this is what it is, take what you want. And you get a good sort of insight. Consultancy is giving you all the knowledge and showing you all the possible different routes you could go into. Coaching is facilitating the skills you already have. And there are two, sorry, did I mention consultancy? Yeah. And there are two flavors of coaching as well, and I do both. All right. So the first one is directive coaching. So that's a little bit of that's more like what happens in the coaching groups. So the conversation's two-way. So you will get kind of answers from me, and there will be a little bit of teaching with that. But I also do non-directive coaching, and this is like a one-off thing that I do with people. So non-directive coaching is really interesting. So non-directive coaching is where I simply just ask you questions. And I have a model. So I always start the session and I'll say, right, okay, if it was you, Peter, I'd say, Peter, what do you want to think about? And that's it. And off you go. And then it kind of gets reined in with the questioning. So I'll probably say after that, right, what do you want to achieve in the session? Once you've kind of unloaded everything, and then you'll tell me about what you want to achieve with your music or whatever. And then simply I'll start asking questions. Usually the question will be something like, what might you be assuming that's stopping you from achieving your goal? And it's always paraphrased exactly the way that you put it. And then the cool thing about the coaching bit, this is the skill, right? Is the real skill in non-directive coaching is me being able to work out exactly what the bottom line is, what the bedrock problem is. So sometimes you get a lot of like superficial stuff, and what you tend to find is there's a problem underneath a problem, right? And it's that underneath problem that you need to get to through the question. And once you get to that, then it becomes a lot more easier than you simply just getting the person to say, well, now you know what that problem possibly is stopping you. What is the reverse of it? What's the positive opposite? And it doesn't have to be a literal positive opposite, but you talk a bit more about that. And then you can start building an action plan. And the great thing about that is you get to the root of the problem. And the thing that I find fascinating about us creatives is how much of the decision making is made unconsciously. And that's another reason for getting to the bedrock problem, because sometimes the problems that we are conscious of are actually steered by the subconscious problems, and it's just that we're aware of the stuff that's on the surface and that's what we think it is, but there's actually stuff kind of tends to be deeper down, and that's what you get to. And then once you make that conscious, then you can start dealing with it. And problems are brilliant. When you get the right problem and you solve it, then you've made new knowledge for yourself. And as I say, like I'm an experiment of myself, aren't I? And I play this game every day, and it fascinates me. And I don't see problems as how you would generically see a problem. I see a problem as something to be excited about. Obviously, we have terrible problems, but in the process of exchanging terrible problems, we get better problems to solve. And eventually, we get really interesting problems. So one thing you might experience, if you're playing an instrument, it's a little bit more wishy-washy when with my music production, because I don't think people necessarily see it as an instrument. It's just like a load of tools in an environment, but actually it is an instrument. But to be able to see it more clearly when you're practicing an instrument, and you have problems, and you're aware of what the problems are, and then you find out actually what is happening, what's stopping you from achieving the thing that you want to do, and you get that kind of aim, or the objectives, then it's something you get excited about it. Like I really get excited about, like I'll have a really good day playing music. I think this is great. And then suddenly, like I'll have a bad day playing. It's like, God, I'm so shit. But actually what it is to me is my awareness has developed. And actually a lot of these problems that I was having were always there. It's just I wasn't aware of them. And then I become aware of them. And because I'm aware of them, I can do something about it. And therefore something to get excited about, because I'm gonna deal with that. Right? And it's not going to be a problem, and I can move on to the next set of problems. So, as you're fixing problems and you're discovering problems, the better problems, a lot of it is just awareness. We become conscious. Yeah, so, because if you think about it, this really should be built into the education system in some way, shouldn't it? Because at the end of the day, and we've got an education system that's still kind of 200 years probably out of date. It's for the Industrial Revolution, and now today things are much more entrepreneurial, aren't they? And we need to specialize. And luckily for me, and like Thomas, he got to specialize at a younger age, and so did I. Thank God. And I mean, for me, the reason I specialized is because at school I had terrible dyslexia and I just didn't fit into that mold. It was not very good. I mean, I had to go to school, unfortunately. But there was a lot of slack cut for me to kind of, well, I had to, right? To kind of pursue the things that I was interested in, and for me to then educate myself, or with a little bit of help from teachers, kind of through that, but generally school wasn't a great experience for me. Terrible dyslexia. So I just wasn't like, it was horrendous. But the thing that leveled me was being good at music, and it was obvious that I wasn't a complete write-off. So basically everything was, I was in a situation where everybody was chucking everything at me to do music, and very supportive. But just within a system that just didn't fit me. It was bizarre. It's like they couldn't make this thing fit. They were just trying to make it more comfortable to be in. But I mean, my parents were great, because they just absolutely, like, I had like 3 guitar teachers a week and stuff, and it was brilliant. And like my dad used to do my homework for me. I go, I do your homework. So any of my teachers watching, well, I never did any of that homework. You probably knew anyway. But a lot of the time, my dad would do the homework on a night, and he actually quite enjoyed doing it. He loved, because he was, well, bless him. He actually loved. He was a mining engineer, and I remember for my GCSE there was a Wagonway project, and he just went mental with it. And I went, "You've got to make this look like I've done it." He had graphs, diagrams, and he was like, he's going, "Oh, I found a wagonway near our house. Will you come and have a look with me? I need to show you." And I was like, "All right, Dad, all right." Yeah. But the deal was, I'd do my guitar practice and he'd do my homework, and then I'd get up in the morning, and then I would just copy it out, and then I'd hand it in. But he would get too keen, and I'd get caught, and they'd say, "Your dad's doing that shit." So, like, luckily I got, supported in a way. I know. But yes, I mean, learning more about yourself is the important thing, Absolutely. And of course, the interesting thing about it all that I find still fascinating and wonderful is the fact that the creative process can be systemized to a point. I told the guy who coached me that I wanted to do a PhD on it. Hi, Danny. How you doing? Good to see you on here. Talking about coaching. Right, what was I saying? Yeah, because obviously the creative process can have rocking and rolling, great. So yes, it always amazes me that there can be a system in place and or systems, because I mean there's different views of it. You know, when you one of the first things that I think is really interesting is when I talk to people when I'm coaching them, is that there's this thing called 3-role theory. So you have a dreamer, realist, and critic, and that was the Walt Disney model. Yeah, you're gonna love it. So when I'm sort of diagnosing the problem, that people fall into one of these areas like stronger than other areas. So, but like the terminology changed a little bit. So instead of dreamer, we'll have a conjurer, because it's more of a active, isn't it? You're conjuring. There's like more of a purpose to dreaming. And then we'll have the creator. So there's the thinking, the subconscious thinking, making something conscious, and then the creating of that. And then we have, instead of the critic, we'll have the connector. And this is very much specific to do, well, with anything that we create that exists outside of our bodies, that we're connecting to the outside world from us. So that's why it's connecting. Because at that point, all of the jobs that you're doing are the stuff that needs to be done for other people to consume what you're doing. And what you find is people are stronger in one or the other area. So there will be people who, mix engineers, are very much connectors. They're at the end of the process. That's what they're like. And a lot of that's because when you're a connector, I mean, as a super creative, it's still all these areas are very creative. But with that kind of connecting, that end process, that's convergent thinking. So with convergent thinking, there's a little bit more certainty, and there's more yes or no, have I done this? Things are much more clear cut. The more finite. Divergent thinking, things are much more infinite, isn't it? I mean, when you look at the automatic machine, two places where you don't actually do anything with your music in prose apart from make a decision on is splurging, because the decision's already been made, and then you splurge, I'm going to create something without having any judgment. And then when you get into done is the only other area where you make a decision, I'm going to release this. So when we look at the other area, like some people just like to make lots of music and they're not finishing anything, they just splurge, which was me last month, but I'm intentionally doing that. So you'll have people who just splurge, and splurging is making a quick idea, non-judgmental, and another beat, or it might be 8 bars or a 16-bar loop or a verse and a chorus, but nothing's ever finished, and it's just splurged, and it gets kind of lost off, and you never come back to it. But then we have the creating, which is that's the part where we're kind of, okay, I've got this idea now, and it's now conscious, and I'm quite excited about it. I understand, and I need to create these other things to go with this thing in response. So, and that's like the kind of creating. So people will be stronger in one of these areas, and then it's kind of depending where they are with the music. Once I find out where they are, then it's easier to kind of move them either forwards or backwards through that process. So that's one overview. We have the convergent, the divergent thinking, so people are aware of like where the most divergent thinking happens, like at the beginning, and as we get to the end of mixing, as convergent, it narrows down. We don't like to do anything where it's very divergent and convergent at the same time, because that's like breaking and accelerating in the creative process. So like a really good example of that is like somebody making an 8-bar loop, right? So they make an 8-bar loop and they go, this is amazing, this is great, I'm going to mix it now. And then they start mixing it okay, and then it sounds amazing, but the thing isn't finished, right? Because you've done that convergent thing, what that tends to do is it makes your brain think that it's actually finished, right? So then you get that feeling, and we've all had this, where every session then feels really tense, and it's like, oh, I really need to make this work. This is going to be perfect. And you just start making two little moves and stuff like that, and it takes you ages, and you just moving things, small little moves, and it takes you forever. Then you just hate the tune, and then it's all over, and you've wasted a pile of time. And that's what happens when you're kind of mixing the two processes together. So it's best to be divergent, boom, non-judgmental, just everything as possible, as fast as you can. Actually, I do this all the way through the process. Even actually when I'm convergently thinking, I do that because I have. I don't know, if I think it might have been on Twitch. Did you catch the turbo cycling, the turbo release cycling, Pete? Because I started doing this turbo. Basically, what I did in a month, I did 10 tracks in a month, finished at a reasonable quality. And the last sort of week, which would have only been about 8 hours, I mixed 10 tracks. So it was rapid. But yeah, so I can't remember what I was saying now. Yeah, you did say that. Yeah, so that was really good, and I went back and listened to a few of those, and I think that's pretty good for like the speed that it was like done. And actually, that stuff I need to release somehow, because there's a couple more things I need to do to it. But I mean, that was just, yeah, putting your foot on the accelerator and divergent thinking all the way through with a narrow voomf, convergent thinking. So it's just really interesting kind of how you can, use that process, and how much divergent thinking you can put in, and how little convergent thinking you can use, depending on where you sit in terms of conjurer, creator, and connector. And then obviously the last part of this is then we have the actual automatic machine. So as you're familiar with it, Peter, you know that there's a splurge, there's a discovery, which is an investigation. We know that there's a drafting, which is beginning, middle, and end, serving the purpose of the song. Are we fulfilling the purpose? The arc, in other words. And then we have done, which is just put in done, make a decision, and then we have release. And that kind of covers sort of that creative journey. So you can imagine you've got the machine, you've got divergent, convergent thinking, and then you've got the 3-rule theory above that. That's how I think of it, if that makes sense. But then, like the other part of the coaching is, as well as like kind of, I mean, the heavy nuclear bomb with people to get them moving is like when they come for a one-to-one session, and they do like something non-directive, then that's really interesting. But they tend to be one-off things, and I offer them free now and then. But the other thing was the conditions of success. And like when I got coached, this was sort of the start of my coaching experience, was that I was working through these 7 different areas, and it was like 1 a month. So when it started, the first thing was the environment, like, because, or now I call it friction. So it was just moving all the shit out of my way that I wasn't using, switching alerts off my phone, distractions, annihilating them. Anything that wasn't directly serving what I was doing, just put in a cupboard. Daft synths and gear that you never used, just move it, because it's always a cognitive load. And then it was habits, and then you start installing positive habits. So there's lots of positive habits I installed. One of them being actually a regular studio session, and that was getting up in the morning. That's one of the biggest kind of wins that I've had, is that getting up early in the morning. Amongst other things, but like how even when I'm practicing guitar now, it's like it's habit building. You know, I know that I have to have a regular time. I know that there's a trigger, there's a start point and an end point to it, and then you kind of the neuroplasticity of your brain changes, and then actually being able to practice and do these regular sessions, you can do without thinking. Then what else did we have? Habits. Oh, decisions, insight, and analysis. Again, like probably one of the most powerful. They're all powerful. No, I have a silent alarm. So it just, as long as I haven't got my arm anywhere near her, but basically it like vibrates and I get up. That's it. And then I'm up. But, you know, it's one of the conditions of being with me. You get me and me music, which is fine with. Well, we used to be in band together for years. Anyway, and then we have insight and analysis. So, two very important things. Studio sessions should be insightful. Decisions, paralysis through analysis during sessions, especially when it comes to sound design and plugins, yes. So these things all need putting in a little box, don't they? So, you know, sound design is very much, though it's creative, it's like an editor kind of thinking. And obviously plugins, you want them to be serving you in the process, not thinking about them. But the way it works is to keep a studio session insightful is that you do your analytical thinking outside. So when you hit the studio, you've got a rough kind of idea of what you're going to do and you can hit the ground running. And then it gets you into flow. And then that's it. Like, you know, my morning sessions, it's like I forget everybody's there and I'm off. So I go on ages about insight and analysis, because it's really good. And I mean, one of the things that I found, because this led me to flow practice, and when I think about flow, one of the most, which is when you're being insightful in the studio, one of the most amazing things that I think is, you know, when I'm not in flow, you're very conscious of the editor, do this, do that, that kick drum's not right, change the snare, EQ this, EQ, you know, that's all nonsense. That's the editor, right? And we don't want to hear that. So that's a sort of a voice, and some people think that voice is them, that's just like part of you, but it's not, because the person hearing that voice is you. And then when I'm not hearing that voice and it's just me and the music, at that point, that's when I'm truly me. And when I'm truly me, and I get to experience me as me, being just absolutely in the moment, as close to not being in the past and not being in the future, because you must be slightly behind, I suppose, that you're conscious of. At that point, that's when I truly experience who I am. And it's very strong, you know, when I'm playing guitar and I'm improvising. But to me, that's absolutely mind-blowing. And you know, when I realised that, I remember being super excited about all of my morning sessions, because I knew I was going to be in flow, and it was another kind of conscious way to just enjoy myself. And then obviously fear's one, and boredom. We're going to get bored of what we're doing. How do we make it more exciting? How do we keep going? Fear, when you're going to release something, it's the same fear as the mortal fear of death. You know, it's the same chemicals that apparently go through our body. So we learn to deal with that. And then obviously understanding your community. So, you know, that's the other sort of areas, the 7 conditions. Oh, and the one that I always miss out, and actually deliberately so, because my brain is normally, well, I didn't deliberately, I just missed it out this time, but normally I intentionally miss it out, is skills. Because the one thing everybody has is absolutely shitloads of skills. loads and loads of skills. We don't need any more skills. We need to be facilitating the ones that we've got and getting them working for us before we start like looking at what other skills we need. I mean, a lot of skills and plugins and YouTube videos, like all of this is like solving problems. But what's the point of solving a problem that you haven't had? What you need to do, and this is the whole point of coaching when I do the exercise with everybody, is what I'm doing is I'm taking them through an area of the creative process that's going to cause a problem, right? Good problem. And therefore, Tim, do you want a very loud bass? I'm always wanting a loud bass. How loud is loud? Yeah, what was that? I'm thinking about bass now. Well, no, you're never wasting your time. It's just those are the skills that you've acquired. Now you just need to put them to use. But the problem is like we've got lots of solutions to problems that we haven't had. You know? So we need to come back and we have to create a why. And that's like so exercises that I do create the why, you know. And then therefore we can use the solutions that we need to fix the problems. And then that's how our skills that we've learned all comes into play. So, Dr. Petrovich, a deep rumbling bass. Well, I used to make tech house, and I remember, 2016-ish, it was all the rage, and it was in tech house, and it was in techno, those deep rumbling basses, and making them like a kick drum, slamming a kick drum down and getting reverb and side chaining it and distorting the reverb tail and like all of that fun stuff. Great stuff. Or getting percussion and tuning it right down and just making this crazy groovy kind of rumbling thing. I can't remember the artist who used to do it. I got the idea from. But actually, I released a couple of tracks with that kind of rumbling bass on. When I would occasionally have my kind of techno thing. So, Doctor, what kind of music do you produce? Pleasure, Pete. Surf music, good. That's good. Surf music with techno rumbling bass could be a good thing. Excellent. Catch you later, Pete. Thanks for tuning in. That's if you go, and if not, then feel free to hang around. So this is quite fun. Kind of being on here. A few people watching. So it's just a bit of an extra stream for me, this. Because I did my morning session, made a track, and then I was like shoving it through some Lander, actually, to see how it would come out mastered. Very interesting results. So I've got a little bit of training this afternoon. I need to check on what time. I'll have to be ready for it soon. $11:45. Right, I think I'll do a little bit of a splurge. Yeah. Did the missus made that portrait, Tim? Yes, she did. Let's go back to it. Because every rock star, when you're my level, that's about the size of your portrait you have in your studio. Obviously, Dave Grohl has a massive, you know, painting of himself in his studio, doesn't he? Painted by some portrait master. But my missus is pretty good. She did that in a painting class. She's actually a fully qualified artist. She has a first in fine art and a master's as well. There you go. She was really pleased that she even caught the detail of because she likes to point out everything that's wrong with me. The fact that one eye is bigger than the other. I don't know if your missus does that, but she tends to look up and down and go, I never noticed that one eye's bigger than the other. Oh, you got a funny wrinkle on your forehead, like stuff like that. I get that all the time. The other one was you've got massive ears. You've got massive ears. Yeah, eye for detail. But yeah, you see, like the friggin' like it is. And she's done like the lazy eye. I've got a lazy eye. I don't know why. I was born like that. I don't know. I'm kind of work in progress, aren't I? It's mastery. That's what I'm moving towards. All right, I'm gonna move. Yeah, properly dressed. Yeah, but right. Okay, the reason I'm properly dressed there is because that's her fantasy of how she wants me to dress. She wants me to be smart, sensible, and wear grown-up clothes. Well, I'm not going to do that, am I? It's just ludicrous. I'll never wear a tie. I dare anybody to try. No, I dare anybody to try and put a tie on me. I just freak out. You know, like Gollum, where they try and put the rope on him. That's me. If you try and come anywhere near me with a tie, I turn into a wild animal. Oh, see, that's my electric piano giving some noise out. Let's see what's going on in EXO. I'm gonna get it there. I'm gonna build some percussion on EXO. How about that? Right. Search. Select none. Right, we'll have that. Sounds good. So it's something like that. And let's get a groove. Hi there. Right, I'm nearly done for. Oh, hi Thomas. Hi Mark. It is party time, but it's actually party time over because I've got to go and do some training now. Let's bounce this out. Actually, I'll do it after. Oh, right. Let me get my thoughts. Okay, so that's me done. No, not weight training. You'll never guess. Very special training. But no, not weight training. If only. Are you off training today? You'll be training. You'll be doing your 2 hours. Anyway, morning streams on as usual. Oh, it's a rest day. Good. Do you want to go for something to eat this afternoon? 3 o'clock. Possibly. Maybe. If I can get away. Anyway, I'll be streaming tomorrow morning. I'll be on Twitch probably. But if you can get onto Twitch, I'll be over there. And it was might have to be away after the school. All right, okay, that could be done. Right, when's the school run? Oh, I forgot I've got a child as well here. But today's not the best. Never mind. It can be another day. I just like when I have a day in the house, I just expect the whole world to align with me, Thomas, that's all. But never mind. It's not always the case, is it? All right, guys, I'm off. I'll see you about. All right then. Bye.